Are we already started? Oh, I'm right on time to watch Taiwan live TV!
Hello everyone, MJ here. How's it going? Nice to have you with us on another edition of Late Night here in Taiwan with Taiwan Live TV. Thanks so much for joining. Yeah, we're in Asia and we got the coronavirus going on, and it does present some daily challenges. It's not too bad. Of course, I'm not out and about, and got Periscope on the 27-inch touchscreen back here. I'm not out and about right now. I'm in my home, in my studio, and we're just hanging out. But I just wanted to let you know that whenever I'm outside, this is what I look like. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people have been commenting on, this has been going on for some time, about how Asians wear masks, and it's a big deal apparently to some people, And I remember back in February 2018, I went to the United States for just 4 days to visit a doctor, and I put a mask on at the airport here in Taiwan, and I didn't take it off until I got to my hotel room. I mean, I went to check in at the hotel, and the guy's looking at me like, in the U.S., and I understand, I haven't been to Europe, but a lot of places in Europe, my friends tell me that there isn't so much of a mask culture there like there is in Asia. And so the mask culture is pretty interesting, because what it does is it brings people together, believe it or not, even though there's a barrier. You can't see my full facial expressions, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But if I see somebody else wearing a mask, then it's like, hey, you're scared too, or you're dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with, and we kind of have a common enemy. And it's the old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of thing. So we go out shopping. Like yesterday, we went to a shopping center, and as soon as we walk in the door, there's a greeter there, a person there at the desk, and they've got an infrared thermometer, and they're going to shoot, your forehead. It's a non-contact. It's just an IR reader. I don't know how accurate the thing is, but they shoot your forehead for see if you got a temperature. Now, we all know now that that's not such a good way to screen, but people have to do something, and so that's what they're doing. And then they give you a little sticker, like a yellow dot you can put on your sleeve, so you can walk around and go, oh, they checked my temperature at the front door. It's pretty funny. And then they give you a little alcohol, and you wipe your hands off, and they're nice and clean and everything. So you go places. But I find myself, like, I've always done this. Like, if I push buttons in the elevator, I push like this. I give them this, not the tip of my finger. I give them the knuckle. And lately, the fist bump has become, the fist bump has become more of a standard greeting than it ever was before, amazingly enough. But I go back quite a ways here in Taiwan. I've been actually living in Taiwan for 16 years, but I've been traveling here for a long time, doing business, since 2002. And I happen to have been here during the SARS epidemic in 2003. And it was well, it was very interesting. It was the first time I had ever been in an area that had anything like a pandemic or an epidemic. Where I lived in the States, the United States is so big that, things could happen in the other coast and it wouldn't affect me at all being in the Boston area, north of Boston in New Hampshire, and vice versa. So, some interesting things happened. I was coming from the States to Taiwan, and my family told me here, put a mask on at the airport in Japan and wear it all the way to the front door or don't come home. That's what they told me. I was like, wow, okay, so I did. And what happened was I got to the airport in Kansai in Japan, and there's a bunch of people up to the side with masks on getting ready to take a picture. And I said to myself, oh, there's got to be Taiwanese. And they went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in Chinese, and they went chocolate, which I say chocolate, and they pulled their mask down. And somebody took a picture and they put their mask back on real quick. I was like, wow. Okay. Then I got on the plane, and there's a woman behind me, and she's sitting. I don't know why. I just happened to notice I was looking at something, and she pulled her mask down, got a bottle of water, unscrewed the top, put it, and put her mask back up. I'm like, wow. So then there was a woman. I'll never forget her name because this is a very vivid memory for me. Her name is Yuda, and she was pushing the cart. This is the old Northwest Airlines days. Remember that? Okay. Before they were absorbed by Delta. And so she's pushing a cart, she wants to serve dinner. Where she says, would you like something to eat, sir? And I'm looking at her, and I'm looking like this at my mask, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm saying, so anyway, you have important informations. Okay, well, information is both singular and plural, but let's have your important informations, okay? So anyway, I looked at my mask, I looked at her, and she finally said, oh, okay, I understand. And she was wearing surgical gloves. She had latex gloves on, so, Anyway, yeah, okay. I was in Bangkok 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. Taiwan announced today that they can manufacture a vaccine on their own, no matter what the WHO and China complaints or anything. Doesn't matter. And the Taiwan medical community is pretty. They're pretty savvy. Some of the best in the world. Anyway, so the other thing about the mask culture was that I noticed from back then was that people were not wearing masks for various stupid reasons. Like I was talking to a guy who said, why aren't you wearing your mask? And he said, well, the wind's blowing. And then I saw somebody else, and I said, why aren't you wearing a mask? And they said, oh, that's Taipei's problem. So they don't really understand how the pandemic worked. But that was, 17 years ago? So it's different now. Anyway, we have 25 cases in Taiwan, and we have had 1 death. We have 1 critical, and 2... we have 2 people that are actually recovered. Okay, thank you for your comments, but I mean, whatever, okay? Yeah, okay, whatever. All right, so thanks for your opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, the comments do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Taiwan Live TV, so, okay. All right, anyway, so one thing that I was talking about when I was in Bangkok, and I did a late night show from the 8th floor, was how people react when they see the mask, and you see the eyes narrow when people are smiling and things like that. So I would just go up to people and just narrow my eyes, and they thought that I was smiling. But I'm going to go ahead and take my mask off. I'm just making a point. We're not in the public area now, so I'm in my studio. Of course, the lighting here is really bright. All right, now, Taiwan is a place where we have doctors that do limb transplants, and the limb transplants take, and they're completely functional. There's a doctor in Taipei that's particularly known. He's well renowned. Okay, I'm asking you nice. Please stop. Okay? Please, just stop. Okay? So, anyway, the medical community here is on the ball, and the number of cases that are rising very slowly. We're not using the WHO and China's methodology to figure out what's going on or to diagnose patients. We have our own criteria, and it's not subject to that daily changing and the numbers game. But for the most part, all those people that were here a couple of weeks ago that were in northern Taiwan, I posted that earlier. This was the areas that they were at, and if you look on the left, it's in Yangming San in the Bamboo Lake area, as it says in Chinese, and up at the right was the agricultural park. All those places had Chinese tourists and other tourists that were on that boat that went to Japan. And so all the people got off. I mean, over 1,000 people got off in Taiwan. But fortunately, we don't have any cases from that. So the cases have been mitigated. And I think it has to do a lot with how the medical community has responded with hand washing and sterilization and those kinds of practical applications of medical science. And I'm drinking my characteristic trademark rum. All right, so that actually looks pretty good. We have been working here in the studio on a new album, and it's going pretty well. I've got my first tune in 23 years that I have recorded from scratch, solo artist. It's almost ready to be mixed. I'm going to mix it on the digital console, the XRV2. The analog console over here, that's out of sight, 32 channel, 8 bus recording console, does not have automation. This console does. And so we use the automation for more precise control of the mix and so forth. So I'm going to have something for you really, really soon. So check out mjk.asia. And let me see if I have. We're also on, I don't think I do. We're also on Twitter as Phoenix Media Forge. And phoenixmediaforge.com is our companion website for the studio. Now, about the numbers, they keep going up. And the CCP is not known for being transparent. People around the world they don't trust the numbers from the CCP. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm not an expert, but I think this is going to get so out of control that we're just going to have to isolate ourselves from China completely. And so I think that's what it's coming to, because they can't be trusted. I saw an article today about saying that it was time for the WHO to stop being polite to China. The WHO needs to flex its muscles and tell them to get on the stick, because Chinese said that they were too busy to allow WHO officials into the epicenter. What? You're too busy. Okay. They need to just go in anyway. what China's been busy doing is playing politics with Taiwan about the people, the Taiwanese that are there, that they won't allow to come back home because they don't want the appearance that the Taiwan government is telling them what to do. But Taiwan prioritized the patients already, the elderly, the already sick, children, people with pre-existing conditions, and China just ignored it. Sent people back that were perfectly healthy and young and didn't need to be evacuated immediately. And so they're politicking like usual. So can't really trust that what they're saying is true. And so the world questions the virus. I mean, the numbers of infected and the cases. So I think my personal take on it, and most of the people that I've talked to in Taiwan, especially the long-termers, have been here for a long time and have seen the interaction with the CCP over the years with Beijing. It's out of control already. This is going to be around for a long time. This isn't going to be over in April, I don't think. And I'm not an expert, but just talking with the people that have been through these things before and knowing what we know about our neighbor across the Taiwan Strait, well, there you go. So, is there anything else that anyone would like to talk about besides the virus? So, I was in the SARS epidemic wearing my mask and down the street, and I saw a guy go like this with a cigarette, put his mask back on. That kind of stuff is not gonna help. Now there is a proper and improper way to wear a mask, and people tell you that this kind of mask is ineffective, that the mesh is too big and it lets the virus through. Let me tell you something. If you're in a place that has a deadly virus, you're going to do the same thing that you do if you're in a building with smoke. You're going to breathe through your shirt or whatever it takes. It doesn't, you're going to do any little tiny thing you can do to mitigate. You're going to do. But let me tell you what wearing a mask does do. It prevents you, or it helps prevent you from spreading the disease. Because remember, the coronavirus can be transmitted through airborne droplets, correct? People sneezing, coughing. Right. But when you sneeze and you cough with a mask on, it stops. The water droplets hit the mask and the mask absorbs them. So studies have shown that even though, technically, I guess, if you want to talk about like the Andromeda strain, for example, when they used the mesh to see how big the virus was. Yeah, the virus is smaller than the mesh of almost all of the masks. But if the sick people wear them and the well people wear them, then you've got more of a prophylactic effect, if you will, where it can prevent the spread of the disease. Other thing is don't shake hands, fist bump if you want. A lot of guys are giving elbow bumps, I see. That's okay. Or just, not nodding. How are you? Nice to see you, but I'm not going to shake your hand like that. Wash your hands frequently. There are products like Dettol that make a hand wash that we're using here in Taiwan, or you just go down to the store, you can get medical alcohol, things like that. Other strange things that might help. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, but if you use like a nasal irrigator, like you can buy a bottle, with a hooked nozzle on it that fits in your nose, and you can put the warm, sterile saline solution and just squeeze it, and you can evacuate your sinuses. You can get rid of all the dust and the dirt, because remember, the nose really is the first line of defense, right? Those hairs in the nose have a purpose. They're all full of mucus and they're sticky and things adhere to them. That's the point of it, to prevent it from going into your bronchial system and into your lungs, your respiratory system. So washing out your sinuses can actually help. I've heard some claims that it removes viruses. I don't know if it does. I mean, viruses are tiny, and I guess I haven't heard any claims that it kills viruses, but I guess it probably would remove them by washing them out if they're there. But that's one thing that you can do too. So that's just keep that in mind. But you have to pinch it tight. There's a wire across the top. Pinch it tight. And make sure, the thing is you have to kind of balance the tension between the top and the bottom. Sometimes you put the mask on and it's too tight here and it pulls it up like this into your eyes. And so you sort of have to kind of give it a little more tension on the bottom and less on the top, so it pulls down a little bit more, but you don't want it to pull away. The problem with the mask is it does make your glasses fog up if you're a glasses wearer. And the N95 respirator is very uncomfortable. Properly installed on your face, it's very uncomfortable to wear. People don't like it for long periods of time, and it gets soggy with condensation and so forth. But Gallardo, how are you? Nice to see you. Always a pleasure. Fist bump to you. When you're putting on the mask, and especially if you've already worn it, and I'm in my house, it doesn't matter. I haven't taken this one outside. Always hold it and take it off. Buy these ear bands. Never touch the mask on the outside, okay? You put it back on the same way, just like this, okay? Try to avoid touching on the outside. So you have to kind of do this, okay? When you first put it on, you open it up because it's folded, right? And the louvers, and you open it up. And then people have been wondering, because see, here in Taiwan, we have the national healthcare system, but the government is controlling the purchase of masks. You can buy 2 masks per week for adults, and I think it's 4 for children. Fortunately, we have a pretty good stock of masks because we have always had masks, and in our family we use them all the time. When we get sick, we wear masks. We go we go to church, we go to the mall, anywhere that we go or around anybody else, we wear a mask if we're sick. So we keep boxes of these masks, and we took them to Bangkok. We took some of our own masks to Bangkok. 2 masks, not boxes, 2 physical masks per week per person. So now, if you look on YouTube, they're mostly in Chinese, but there are some English translations of procedures that you can use to reuse the mask. And what it amounts to is this. Let me show you this. What people are doing is they're folding it like this. Okay? So the inside is out. And that way, all the nasty stuff is on the inside. Okay? That's what you do. You saw me do that. Rewind it if you have to. Okay? And then you can put it back on. It's pretty straightforward to put back on. And you don't really have to touch it by, you just touch it by the edges, right? You don't want to grab it in the center if you can. Just make your little adjustments and tighten it up here on the nose, on the wire. But when you're done with it, you can just fold this thing like that, okay? You can spray them with alcohol because they will go back flat. Some people are spraying them with alcohol and then they're folding them outside in and putting them in a Ziploc bag. That's what you do. If you got 2 masks a week, you can't wear them and throw them away, because that's what you normally do. These were usually designed only for 1 day or 2 days at the max. It's not because the mask particularly becomes ineffective so much, at least I think. I'm not an expert. But I think it's because they become kind of gross. You've been breathing, especially if you've been coughing and so forth. What I do, this may sound crazy, but I use nasal inhalers, and things like menthol and eucalyptus oils. I really love those kind of oils. And I like to put a drop or 2 on the inside of the mask. And that keeps it from smelling and being so gross. And you get the added benefit of the decongestion aspect of it. So then you put it back on and just, lightly touching the top, and there you go. Touch it by the edges, only in the corners. Adjust the tension on the ear so it doesn't pull up or down or some funny way like that. And that's it. And so if you're careful, you can survive on 2 masks a week. And if you really, really had to, if you're really careful with it and folded it on the inside, you know, like I was saying, so the inside is out, and you were to use like medical alcohol to spray the thing and keep it in a Ziploc bag, you would be able to exist probably on 1 mask, I don't know, every couple of weeks maybe. It's amazing what you can get used to. It's amazing what you can put up with if you have to. So, hey Matthew, how you doing? Nice to see you. Fist bump to you too. Yeah, the gang's coming in here. So, sorry guys. You know, I haven't been on much. I've been depressed. I don't know why. It goes back to a long time ago when I had a lot of medical problems. I mean, I got medical problems now, but I had a lot of medical problems back in the old days that bounced me out of the record business and you know, out of the music scene and everything. And part of it was resulted in me becoming affected by depression. It was I have what's it called? I guess it's a situational depression where it's caused by something situational. It's not necessarily like a chemical thing, you know, but it can be, because you can drive people into depression, and that's what happens. But I still have some residual effects of it occasionally. I sometimes get headaches. And you guys who know me and follow me and are in the late night group, we have a line group. Unfortunately, we've had to close it to the public because we had too many. Somehow or another, the line group got on a list of men looking for women, and they think it's a place to go and hunt for chicks, and that's not what it is. But the friends on the line group know that I've had some dental problems. I had a tooth pulled, and what's back here, and man, that was an ordeal. Oh, but yeah, we're okay. And they're going to put a implant in and replace it. It's just a pain in the neck. These things are a pain in the neck, and growing old is just, you know. But that's what everybody faces, because the alternative is to not grow old. But the good news is I've been working on this new tune, and I finished about half the vocals, and I do extensive vocal tracks. If you look at mjk.asia, my old catalog of stuff, and you can hear one of my older tunes that I placed recently on Spotify. I'm known for these big, lush background vocals, you know, multi tracks, anywhere between 9 to, who knows, 15, depending on the number of intervals. And I just did 2 sections of 9 tracks each, and I did two lead vocal tracks. And I'm actually pretty happy with the lead vocal tracks. It's surprising how close I sound how I did when I was like 40 years old, and or even in my 30s. So I still sound largely like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've almost decided on something. This is interesting. And for those of you who have known about my music projects for a long time, this is something that I have been thinking about. I'm seriously thinking about doing my first cover tune ever. Ken Ron, how are you? Fist bump to you. You guys follow Ken Ron, and especially if you like coffee, man. He does Ken Ron's coffee breaks, and Ken is absolutely hilarious, and he's a babe magnet. Can I say, Ken, I'm just telling the truth, okay? Okay, I'm just telling the truth. You are, and you know it. Ken's wife's recently been in the hospital, and so Ken, yeah, hearts go out to you, bro. Tell your wife we said hi, everybody from the Late Night Gang, and appreciate it. If you would pass that on to her, thanks. Hope she's doing better. Hope she makes a complete recovery. So, you know, I'm looking at this mic. I guess I'm looking at this mic. You know, you guys know Dave and Osaka, right? So, yes, Gallardo, they have been. Actually, we got a extra 2 weeks. So, hey Dean, how you doing? Nice to have you with us. Oh, the whole gang's here. So, being released today. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Please say hi from MJ and the late night gang. Gallardo, thank you for asking that question. I forgot to mention that. Thank you. They got extra 2 weeks. Phoenix was supposed to go back to school 2 weeks ago this Monday. So this is actually Friday morning here. This is just after midnight Friday morning. So on Monday would be 2 weeks ago she was supposed to go back to school. And she's going back to school on Monday. But apparently, thanks Ken. But apparently, if what I'm reading, if I'm reading it correctly, I believe that if there are 2 cases of coronavirus in a school, that they'll cancel the classes in that school. They're gonna do the right thing. They're gonna worry about the academic fallout later. They're gonna control the disease first. You know, you can always send kids to school in the summer if you have to, or do supplementary classes or whatever it takes, but you have to do it. I mean, it's, you know, it's going to be painful, but you have to do it. Anyway, it was totally random, and in light of all this serious discussion, it's just, I was looking at this microphone, man. I love this microphone. David Osaka, you guys know Dave. Everybody knows Dave. And Dave has become a close personal friend of mine, and he came here to Taiwan to visit me, which I really appreciate. And not just me, but he took time to come visit. And you guys probably remember the periscopes that we did while he was here. But he did me like a solid that is unbelievable. You know, the heart of any studio, you know, we got these recorders and consoles and everything. So, Jerry, how you doing? Nice to see you. Always a pleasure to have you with us, man. And how's things in Portland? And so, but the heart of like recording vocals is the microphone. And I used to say that if you gave me like an LA2A tube compressor and a U67, I could record anything in the world, and that's pretty much true. As long as you have a decent mic pre. The X32 over here, over here, the camera's backwards, has Midas preamps, and of course the Soundcraft Ghost, the analog console over here that you saw a couple of broadcasts ago. I've done several broadcasts with this console behind me. Mic preamps in this thing are legendary. So the microphone preamps that I have are really pristine and really good. But if you've got a lousy mic, then, well, you get lousy results. Now this up here is a power supply for a condenser mic. And it has 9 switchable patterns. If you switch it all the way to the left, it's omnidirectional. And it goes click 1, 2, 3, 4 in the center is cardioid, and then all the way to the right is the figure 8. And the figure 8 looks like a figure 8, and there are nulls on the side. But the thing that's remarkable about this microphone, and I'm going to show it to you right now because it's just phenomenal. The thing that's remarkable is that I asked Dave if he would not mind looking for this in Japan to see how expensive it was. Because this microphone was designed and built in Taiwan. It is a large capsule condenser microphone with a tube preamplifier. These are rubber bands. These little black lines are rubber bands. See, they move. But what it is they help hold it into what we call the spider or the shock mount. But I don't know if you can see. Yeah, if I hold it like this, you can kind of see the capsule. It's a round capsule, and it's gold sputtered PVC is what it should be. It's like a gold plating on it. If I were to shine a light through this from the back, you could see the capsule. Now, the tube is in here. It's a 12AX7, and this window lights up when you turn it on. In fact, I got the power supply right here. Do I have the? Hang on a second. Let me just check this. Let me see. Is this on here? Let me see. Okay. I wasn't actually planning on doing this. So. Okay, here's what I gotta do. Hang on. I gotta turn the towel on there. Did I? I turned it the wrong way. There you go. Whew. Now, that's lighting up. See it? Yep, that's lighting up. That's the tube, the 12AX7 tube in there lighting up. The name of this company is JTS, and the name of this microphone is the JS1 tube. And this microphone is very cool and very sensitive. I'm going to turn it off now. There is a low-end roll-off here. That's for like a rumble. And there's a 10 dB pad over here on the other side. So this microphone is made in Taiwan. This is funny. It's designed, made in Taiwan. This is a die-cast aluminum. I'm not going to hit it, of course. This is a die-cast aluminum frame. It's very, very robust and a steel mesh. I mean, if you were to drop this mic, it would probably destroy the capsule. But the mic would survive. You could just change the capsule because this thing is built like a tank. I mean, in an emergency, you could use it for a hammer. I mean, the thing is heavy. But the funny, bizarre thing is that this microphone was half price in Japan, but it's made in Taiwan. So I asked Dave, I said, would you please, because he's coming to Taiwan, I said, would you please check and see how much that mic is in Japan? I would just like to know. And the reason that I asked is because like my recording monitors over here, okay, and my little collector's amp, my Brian May amp, I got from a collector in Japan. All those things were cheap. They were cheaper in Taiwan than they are, cheaper in Japan than they are in Taiwan. And I imported them here. So I asked Dave to check, and it was half price, and he carried it on. So he did me a solid. It's amazing. And I really appreciate it. And the results that I'm getting, I cut some vocals and I made a work mix, and I let Dave hear the work mix so he understands, you know, that it is cool. That microphone, the sounds that he's hearing on that record came from that mic. And so, yeah, it has one of those, I don't like them, but it has one of those clown nose kind of, you know, windscreens. I prefer the pantyhose kind of, we call it, you know, that the disc, which incidentally, that's funny, because as you guys know, I was a recording engineer and record producer in Boston, you know, years ago. And during the time, remember, We Are the World, when We Are the World came out, I was in the business at that time and working in the studio. And they were showing all these, we call them the pantyhose, because that's what they look like. You've seen those. It's the round black disc, you know, that goes in front of the mic. It's a pop filter. So your breath, you know, you say P and T and stuff, that doesn't pop because you have to, you close mic, you know, the vocals, you know, the microphone is like right here or, you know, very close. And the breath, well, the condenser mic capsule is so incredibly sensitive that, you know, the breath will destroy it. You'll get a huge spike and a really nasty sound. It's like a rumble. Because you guys know what I'm talking about. If you hear, even with a mobile phone broadcast in live streaming and there's any kind of wind, you get that rumble. Well, you can imagine with a professional grade studio microphone in a big capsule, the rumble sounds like a jet taking off. Anyway, so after We Are the World, the video came out on MTV. My friend Dave D in New York said that all those pantyhose windscreens that were gone in 30 seconds, they were off the shelf. Couldn't find any for like the next 3 months while the supply was building back up. So nowadays you can get them anywhere. They're real cheap. Get them we have them in Taiwan. They're $15 or something like that, and they're double layer, so you know, nothing gets through. Take care. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Matthew. Well, you know, I wanted to do, and I promise you guys, it wasn't clickbait, but I wanted to talk about the coronavirus, you know, and I wanted to update a little bit about it and what we're doing here and so forth. But this is also the regular, you know, late night show, and so that's what we're doing. Now we're talking about music and stuff. So thanks so much for joining, Matthew, and it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you. All right, so what else is going on? Oh. Prism. Now I know Prism is getting an update. I do not intend to or desire to or want to take credit for anything Prism is doing. But I will tell you that almost from day one I've had a dialogue with him. Been very good. I've been talking with Jake Song, who's the lead engineer, software engineer on the project. And well, you know me. They say I'm an influencer, so I influence people. I don't know. I influenced them, and they're coming out with Chatburn. Yay! I convinced them, and I know he was probably already leaning that way, but hearing somebody talk about it, and I didn't threaten him or anything. That's a joke. But seriously, they're coming out with Chatburn. But they're coming out. They're going to roll it out in 2 stages. The first stage is it's just going to be a kind of a basic burn to the screen, and later on in a follow-up iteration, which is the right way to go, by the way, they're going to make it like resizable and text styles and colors and things like that later. But let me tell you, I'll take it just the way it is. I'll take it. And the other thing that they're doing, and I made this point like very strongly about it, was multiple cameras. Everybody's phone now has more than one camera. And like, if you go in the back camera on Prism, it selects the middle range. Yeah, I know. It selects the middle range. I've got a 0.6 wide angle, a 1.0, and a 2.0. So now, Prism's supposedly, and I don't know how they do this, because I thought that the manufacturers had to release a developer's kit, but I guess not. You know, an SDK, but I guess not. And supposedly Prism will allow you to cycle through whatever cameras you have, which is great. Because I guess on the front camera, and this almost all front cameras are fixed focus. Like if I go like this, it's not going to focus. It's not going to. That's it. It's fixed focus. When I was showing that mic, you know, up a little close, it was a little bit out of focus. But the Chatburn, and then I'm an audio guy. I've been talking to him a lot about audio because sometimes Prism sounds a little crispy to me in the high end. There might be like a bump, like about 4.7, 5K around there. But I kept preaching the gospel of stereo, because especially the fact that they have Prism Studio. Prism Studio allows you to play any multimedia that you want, and it's not in stereo right now. So, but that reminds me, we should take a break and play a bumper for a second, because we can. We've got all this capability here. So let's just do this. Let's see what this is.
My name is Ken, and you're watching Late Night with MJ Klein.
Yeah, that's a good one. And here's another one I like. Yeah, you haven't seen this one for a while.
Welcome here from the top of Europe, and you're watching Taiwan Live with MJ Klein.
Now, I do not know why the audio is out of sync with that. I'm going to have to check that out. But the good news is that the new version of Prism is going to play back multimedia files in stereo. Yeah. But unfortunately, well, this is just my opinion. Unfortunately, right now, I mean, with the new update, it's not going to utilize both microphones at each end of the device for stereo. Because like if you use like Streamlabs or the YouTube app itself and broadcast to YouTube, it is in stereo. You guys know that mobile phones have two microphones. The one on the top is reverse polarity, so it does what we call phase canceling. And the reason it does that is because the bus goes by, traffic or whatever, you want to be able to hear the person speaking. So how it works is, yeah, I know that's a good one. And he made that for me quite a while ago and sent it to me, and I've had it, but I haven't played it. I'm sorry. I played it a couple times. On the top of Europe, he went up there, I think, with JL and some others, I forget. So, Ken Rod, take care. See you next time. Thank you so much. What was I going to say? How noise canceling works is you've got two microphones and you flip the polarity. So you'll say phase, but it's really polarity. So it's the old story. 1 added to -1 equals 0. And if you guys have ever flipped the polarity of a signal in stereo, then what happens is like, this is how usually they get rid of the vocal, because usually the vocal's up the middle, but you get rid of the snare drum, you get rid of the kick drum, you get rid of the bass, and everything else is in the middle. Whatever is in common on those two channels gets canceled, and the only thing that's left is the difference. Now imagine you've got, this is good too for people that work in the field. If you're in a noisy environment and you have two, they have to really be identical microphones. Let's just say you had two dynamic microphones like an SM57 or SM58. What you could do is, it looks ugly, but it doesn't matter because you get the sound. What you do is you put wires on them, okay, wire the mics up, and you tape them together like this, okay, just put some tape around. So one mic is always facing down and the other mic's facing up. And you only talk into one. But everything that is in common, all the signals that are in common with both mics, that is, they have equal amplitude. The truck going by, it's because of the let me see. Oh, okay. Well, I don't do design either. I just use them. I use a combination. I grew up in analog, and digital is new to me. And I'm using Reaper over here, and this is the DP32. This actually is, now it's old school, but it's a digital recorder. People are using DAWs, but I don't use the DAW to record so much. I use a standalone digital recorder because I like hardware buttons for punching in, and then I take the digital files out and throw them in Reaper, and then I mix them on the X32 with automation. It's because it has moving faders. The faders are motorized, and so like if I change layers, you see that all the faders move, and right. Look over here. So anyway. Oh wow, yeah, it is. Because my dad was a TV tech, so yeah, exactly. You can understand that stuff, Jerry. All you got to do is just spend the time, and I know it's a commitment. But getting back to the phase cancellation, if you have two microphones and the polarity is reversed, whatever's in common, in other words, if you put your voice in between both mics equally, they will be canceled. But as soon as you move closer to one of them, then you can hear it because the difference, okay? So all mobile phones have an auxiliary microphone. It's usually on the top, and it's because it wants to be far away from the one down below, right? Because if both microphones are down here, then okay, there's no difference. And so some applications like YouTube and Streamlabs actually utilize both microphones. I don't know if they, well, I don't know what they do. I don't know if they reverse the polarity. I don't know. Anyway, but they use both mics, and it's stereo. It's really cool because you can go like this and you can go like this. You can do it, but with Prism you don't. So Jake told me that the microphone from the mobile phone will not be in stereo, but the sources will be in stereo. So let me play you my favorite bumper because it's just so cool. And hang on, I just have to find it. And first of all, let me play you this one. And our good friend Dave, I mean, he took time to do this from Greenland.
Hi, this is Dave in Osaka, live from Greenland, and you're watching Taiwan Live TV with MJ Klein.
Now, how cool is that? But our good friend Coco, now you guys know Coco. Coco did a green screen for me at her home in North Carolina, and she wore her subway conductor suit. Her uniform.
Mr. Ball, tickets. Mr. Ball. This is the final boarding call for the 451 Express. This is the final boarding call for the 451 Express. Welcome aboard. I'm your conductor, Coco. And our next and final destination will be Taiwan. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Because you're on Late Night MJ Klein.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Coco. Now, like I said, the audio is out of sync with the video, and I don't know why, because if I play back the media files just on my computer or on the mobile device, just playing the back, they're in sync. So that's the next thing I'm going to address with Jake and see what they come up with. So, but I think we've reached the end of our show. So I want to say good night. Thank you to everyone who's joined. Make sure to wash your hands, and if you're going to go out in public, watch out that you don't touch the mask on the outside, okay? Adjust it only from the corners, the edges, minimal contact. When you're done with it, pull it up so the inside is out. Well, that's a little hard to do sometimes. So the inside is out, and then put it in your Ziploc bag. If you want to spray it with alcohol, you can spray it with alcohol, but that's what you got to do to protect yourself during this pandemic. Only touch it on the outside. Thank you, Dean. You guys take care, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. I want to thank my sponsor, ivideo.com.tw. ivideo.com.tw. They've got amazing specials, and if you look in the profile or the description, depending on what platform you're looking on, you can get a 10% discount using my discount code. And when we went to Thailand, we used their fantastic Asia, 10 countries, Asia Wi-Fi box. Check out TaiwanLive.tv. You'll find more information there. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for sticking around. We really appreciate it so much. You guys take care and have a good afternoon, evening, day, wherever you are. We're going to say, 再见, 晚安, 感谢你们. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. You guys take care, and we'll see you later. And we'll leave you with this. The sign of Asian picture taking. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye. And that's a wrap.